In Part 8, I introduced the 42 months in Revelation 11:2 and 13:5. In Part 11, we looked further into the meaning behind the number itself, given as 40 and 2 in the King James New Testament. 40 and 2 is synonymous with time and times and half a time, where 40 denotes a period of trial and probation in the wilderness, and 2 denotes the half a time or division, the internal and external separation effected during this period of trial. This agrees perfectly with Hebrews 4:12, where we are told that the twofold aspects of His Word pierces to the division of soul and spirit by discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. When Moses led Israel out of Egypt, they went into the wilderness. Following His baptism by John, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. The wilderness holds a significant spot in Revelation. It's where John sees Babylon, situated on the back of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. It's evident by Scripture that the wilderness is the place of trial. But where is this place? Friend, it's not a geographical location. Rather, the wilderness denotes spiritual desolation, regardless of where we are, physically speaking. To be more specific, the wilderness denotes a mindset. Please consider, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate." Following His denunciation of the scribes and Pharisees in Matthew 23, the Lord sums it up, telling them, "Your house is left to you desolate." Our word desolate is the same word translated wilderness 32 times. Strong's defines it as lonesome, by implication, waste. Now, let's go to Isaiah 14. "Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, 'Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world as a wilderness and destroyed its cities, who did not open the house of his prisoners?'" In this proverb against the king of Babylon, we read, "Is this the man who made the world as a wilderness?" Though this proverb is against the actual king in his time, I am inclined to believe that it points to another man who truly does make the world as a wilderness. Please consider, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men, because all sinned. Paul tells us that sin came into the world through one man, referring to Adam. Many believe that Adam and Eve were the parents of every living person. Hence, all are born into sin. But this presents several contradictions. Instead, might the one man refer to the following? "But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him. Nor can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." The natural man. Not a person, but an essence, a characteristic reminiscent of every human being, as represented by Adam and Eve. When I say essence, I mean the invisible workings of the mind and heart and a state of unconsciousness that prevents us from receiving the things of the Spirit of God. This, I believe, is the one man through whom sin comes into our lives. And since every person begins as natural, so death spreads to everyone. For when the natural man falls into sin, due to his inability to discern the things of the Spirit of God, he becomes carnally minded, descending into the state of being called death. But we must always keep in mind that this is a necessary stage in the process of sowing and reaping. Now, let's go to the following. "Tell me, you who desire to be under the law, do you not listen to the law? For it is written that Abraham had 2 sons, one by a slave woman and one by a free woman. But the son of the slave was born according to the flesh, while the son of the free woman was born through promise." Now this may be interpreted allegorically. These women are 2 covenants. One is from Mount Sinai, bearing children for slavery. She is Hagar. Now Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. She corresponds to the present Jerusalem, for she is in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem above is free, and she is our mother. For it is written, Rejoice, O barren one who does not bear. Break forth and cry aloud, you who are not in labor. For the children of the desolate one will be more than those of the one who has a husband. Here Paul refers to the two sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael, born of Sarah and Hagar, respectively. Allegorically, he likens Sarah and Hagar as the two covenants, and their children typifying those born according to one or the other. How does Paul say it? The children of the desolate one will be more than those of the one who has a husband. Here he refers to those under the old covenant law of God. Children of the desolate one, that is, children in the wilderness, in a place of trial due to the carnal essence of the heart and mind. Now, let's go to the following. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Here John is taken by the Spirit into the wilderness. What does John see? A woman identified as the great harlot. Might this woman, who is clearly in the wilderness, refer to Hagar and those under the law, who are children of the desolate one? Might this refer to all of us who begin our spiritual journey under said law until such time that we discover its spiritual essence? Is it not true that the giving of the law to Israel took place in the wilderness? Would this, coupled with Deuteronomy 8, verses 1 through 3, clarify our need to go through the wilderness? Friend, there are 2 prominent women in Revelation. The first in Revelation 12:1, a woman clothed with the sun. This woman is symbolic of Jerusalem above. This leaves the second woman, the one we are now considering, the great harlot, Babylon. Might she symbolize present or fleshly Jerusalem, typifying all of us under the old covenant law of God before we enter the new covenant promise of God? When under the law, we are moved by fear of consequences, but once we come under the promise, we are moved by the Spirit and love of God. The law is necessary for the natural and carnal man, but the spiritual man is free. 2 women, 2 covenants. What was foreshadowed in the Genesis parable is seen in Revelation. Babylon in the wilderness, typifying our transition from old to new, from the law to the promise, from bondage to freedom. Our word wilderness is found 35 times in the King James New Testament. Stephen Jones states the number 35 in Hebrew was written with the letters Lamed, authority, and He, which at the end of a word means what comes from. The number itself, then, indicates what comes from authority. When there is an unresolved question or dispute among men, a ruling is necessary from a higher authority. And so 35 is the number of vindication. The wilderness is a place prepared by God, the highest authority. Therefore, it is a necessary stage in our spiritual growth. For it is there we learn the spiritual essence of God's law.